Have you ever watched someone make a move that seems totally backwards to you, and yet somehow it works out perfectly? That's exactly what happens when people try to figure out Sigma males. These guys are like walking paradoxes. While most of us are marching in one direction, following the path we were taught to trust, Sigma males seem to casually head the other way, and still end up landing exactly where everyone else wishes they could be. And before we go further, have you ever taken a decision that everyone around you thought was crazy, only to prove them wrong later? If yes, drop it in the comments. You might be more like this than you think. What makes it even more fascinating is that they aren't trying to be different. Their minds just work this way. What looks like a mistake to outsiders is often the very thing that gives them an edge. They end up finding solutions, opportunities, and results while everyone else is still stuck wrestling with the same old problems. It's almost like they're playing a game on a completely different level, and once you notice it, you can't unsee it. But because their approach is so unconventional, most people assume they're doing it all wrong. What they don't realize is that Sigma males have quietly figured out something most people never will: that the obvious path isn't always the right one. In fact, sometimes the best move you can make is to do the exact opposite of what everyone expects. Stick around until the end, because once you hear these, you might just start questioning the way you've been living your own life. Here are 8 Sigma traits that seem to make no sense to the average person, yet somehow work like magic once you understand them. Trait 1. Caring deeply, but showing almost nothing. This is the first thing that completely throws people off. Imagine someone who looks detached, calm, maybe even cold, only to later discover that they noticed every little thing, that they cared more than anyone else in the room. That's the Sigma puzzle. They often feel emotions with a depth that even surprises them, but you won't see it written all over their face or hear them fishing for validation. This is where misunderstandings happen. People assume that if you care, you'll show it. Gush about it, display it, make it obvious. But for Sigma males, proof doesn't come in the performance. It comes in quiet, meaningful action. They're the ones who remember the smallest detail you mentioned months ago, who go out of their way to help you when nobody else noticed, who protect you without making a scene about it. To outsiders, this looks contradictory, almost confusing. How can someone who seems so indifferent actually care so much? And that's the point. Sigma males challenge the idea that love, loyalty, or care have to be loud to be real. While everyone else measures affection by volume, Sigmas measure it by depth. Trait 2. Trusting their gut over any expert's advice. Most of us feel safer when we lean on the professionals. If a doctor, a professor, or some big-name guru says, "This is the way to do it," we nod, take notes, and follow along because we're taught that's the smart thing to do. But this is where Sigma males completely flip the script. Sure, they'll listen politely, but when it comes time to act, their final decision is based more on that quiet inner nudge than on somebody else's credentials. To outsiders, this can look reckless, even arrogant. How could anyone believe they know better than the experts? But it's not about disrespect. It's about trust, not in titles, but in their own ability to connect dots others don't see. And surprisingly, it often works out. They'll go left when everyone else is screaming, "Go right." And then later everyone wonders how they saw it coming. Does it sometimes blow up in their face? Of course, they're human, not fortune tellers. But here's the key. They aren't afraid of being wrong in public if it means staying true to themselves. And that kind of risk-taking is something most people just can't stomach, which is why this trait makes zero sense to outsiders. Trait 3. Being too easily irritated. This one humanizes them the most, and maybe that's why people struggle with it. For all their calmness and paradoxes, Sigma males aren't saints. They get irritated, sometimes quicker than people expect. Small talk that drags on for too long. Boundaries that keep getting pushed. Environments that feel chaotic or fake. These things hit them harder than they hit most. To the outside world, it can look like arrogance or impatience. What's his problem? Can't he just chill like everyone else? But irritation isn't about thinking they're above it all. it's about sensitivity. Sigma males pick up on tiny details that most people overlook, and those details start to grate on them like background noise. For most, the noise fades into the distance. For a Sigma, it keeps buzzing louder until they can't ignore it anymore. When they finally react, it's not usually a dramatic outburst. It's subtle, withdrawing from the conversation, cutting it short, or dropping a sharp comment. And because most people don't notice what triggered it, the reaction feels random. But that's the truth. Irritation doesn't always announce itself with flashing lights. Sometimes it's just the invisible weight of noticing too much for too long. Trait 4. Exploding inside while looking calm outside. This is the ultimate tension builder. Picture someone whose thoughts are racing, pulse is pounding, maybe even furious, and yet on the outside, they're almost unreadable. Calm face, steady tone, completely controlled. To most people, this feels impossible. Emotions usually leak out whether we want them to or not. But Sigma males seem wired to contain the storm, at least until they've decided how they want to handle it. This ability baffles and unnerves others. How can someone feel that much and show so little? But that's the strength. Their calm exterior isn't fake. It's a pause, a buffer between raw feeling and action. And it's one of the reasons they often end up making smarter moves under pressure, because they don't let the storm run the show. And that's exactly what throws people off, the delay. Sigma males might seem calm in the moment, but the storm often brews later, behind closed doors, or transforms into action rather than a public outburst. This doesn't mean they're emotionless or numb. If anything, it's the opposite. Sometimes they feel emotions so intensely that showing them right away would only add to the chaos, so they lock it down. It's not denial, it's self-preservation. But from the outside, it can look like they're hiding something or being dishonest. People think, if you're angry, say it. If you're hurt, show it. That's the social rule most people live by. Sigma males quietly break that rule. In doing so, they prove that emotions don't have to dictate behavior in real time. Sure, it's not always perfect or healthy, but it's their way of keeping control until they decide the right moment to release it. Trait 5. Winning arguments by saying less, not more. In most arguments, the instinct is to get louder, throw in more evidence, and hammer the point home until the other side gives in. We're taught that the one who speaks the most and sounds the most convincing wins. Sigma males flip that idea upside down. Instead of adding fuel to the fire, they often go quiet. They pull back. They let the other person talk themselves in circles. At first, this silence feels like surrender, like they've got nothing left to say. But that's where the twist comes in. Because while the other side is busy over-explaining, the Sigma is dismantling the whole argument piece by piece, quietly. They know that silence has power. It forces the other person to keep filling the empty space, often revealing their own weak points. And when the Sigma finally speaks, maybe with just one carefully chosen line, it lands with precision. It shifts the entire tone of the discussion. Does it work every time? No. But when it does, it's devastating. The other person suddenly realizes they've been shadowboxing, arguing with their own noise, while the Sigma stayed calm, grounded, and in control. That's why this style of winning feels so strange to those trained to equate volume with victory. Trait 6. Abruptly leaving situations. This is the trait that stuns people the most. Picture this. A group is hanging out, everything seems normal, and suddenly the Sigma just leaves. No dramatic announcement. No long-winded excuse. One moment they're there, the next they're gone. To most people, this feels weird or even rude. We're taught to stay put, explain ourselves, follow social rituals even when we're uncomfortable. But for Sigma males, the logic is brutally simple. If the vibe feels wrong, if the conversation has run its course, or if they've already taken what they came for, staying longer makes no sense. To outsiders, this can feel cold, even unsettling, because it breaks an unspoken social contract that says we must always consider how our coming and going affects others. But Sigmas operate on a different internal clock. When it's time to go, they go. Not to make a statement, not to stir drama, but because they refuse to waste their most valuable resource, their attention. That's what shakes people. While most of us linger, stall, and perform just to keep everyone comfortable, the Sigma leaves cleanly, decisively, and without apology. Trait 7. Laughing at things nobody else finds funny. Ever been in a serious moment and seen someone crack a smile or laugh, and it instantly made things awkward? That's often what happens with Sigma males. They'll laugh or smirk in moments where everyone else is dead serious, leaving people staring like, "What's so funny?" But there's always a reason. Sigma males have a way of connecting dots most people never notice. They see irony, absurdity, or some hidden pattern buried under the surface. Their laugh isn't random. It's a quiet acknowledgement that they've caught something others missed. The problem is, from the outside, it can look like they're mocking people instead of laughing at the situation. That misunderstanding creates friction. People think they're being inappropriate or disrespectful. But really, it's about perspective. Where others see heaviness, they see absurdity. Where others get lost in the weight of the moment, they find humor in its contradictions. Does this land well socially every time? Of course not. But it says something important. Maybe everyone else is missing a layer of reality that the Sigma can't unsee. Trait 8. Refusing to fake a smile. This one seems small, but it throws people off more than you'd think. Most of us are trained to smile as a kind of social default. In meetings, in conversations, even when we don't feel like it, we plaster one on to seem friendly and agreeable. Sigma males rarely play that game. If they don't feel like smiling, they simply won't. And that unsettles people. They wonder what's wrong. Why this person looks so serious. But nothing is wrong. They just don't see the point in wearing a mask for the sake of social points. Ironically, this is what makes a Sigma's rare smile so powerful. When it finally appears, people stop and take notice. It feels earned, authentic, almost like a reward for showing up real in a fake world. And that's what makes it so disruptive. In a society where everyone is told to smile on command, the Sigma's grin reminds people that emotions should mean something. A smile shouldn't be a mask. It should be a message. If this hit you, if you're the type who only smiles when it's real, smash that like button, subscribe to Epic Persona, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me, when was the last time your genuine smile caught someone off guard? Because in a world full of fake grins, a real one is rare, and rare always stands out. Stay real, stay sharp, stay Sigma. This is Epic Persona.